It's been a while since we've done a director, so we're going to do a director.
Yeah. Who are we going to do?
Martin Scorsese.
Oh, that guy. Yeah. I've never heard of him.
Definitely a guy that is very unique, has his own style.
Yeah.
Definitely on the kind of the mafia style of things.
Yeah.
Most of the films I've seen, I've really enjoyed. So,
yeah, this is one of the, I mean, you talk about big time contemporary directors, one of the famous ones. He's up there with Spielberg.
yeah,
You know,
Scorsese, man.
Scorsese.
Let's get into it.
Okay, he did a few things, some small films before he broke out. Did like Who's That Knocking on My Door in '67, The Honeymoon Killers in '70.
And I've heard that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did a few small films before his breakout movie, which was Mean Streets in '73.
And I just seen that within the last 4 months.
Yeah,
And it's good. I mean, there is a part that's kind of confusing, if I'm going to be honest. There's a part where it seems like it almost like it fast forwards, but you can't really tell. It just sort of happens.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm explaining it right. As a service, it's great, and I've really gotten to where I like these older films, and you see like New York City back in the '70s, and the grittiness of things and how Scorsese shoots things. I enjoyed it. You know, it was Harvey Keitel's. You know, his kind of it was his vehicle.
Yeah.
You know, you had a very young Robert De Niro, and there were a few other actors that obviously that show up in a lot of Scorsese's films.
Yeah.
Which, you know, this is going to be a recurring theme with some of the actors, but. If I were to rate it, I give it like a B minus,
okay.
and I think he a lot of directors actually pulled for him and helped him get financing for it.
It's one. Now I haven't seen it personally. I've been wanting to for a while. It's one of those identifying films. It's one of those that stands out. It's sort of cemented when people talk about Scorsese. Oh, Mean Streets.
Gotta say Mean Streets, and
Yeah.
I'm glad I've finally seen it, and I recommend
Yeah.
you seeing it, and if you're a Scorsese fan, seeing it.
Yeah.
So
So that was Mean Streets in '73. In '74, he did Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. I haven't seen it. I know a friend who has, and it was the inspiration for the TV show Alice, if I'm not mistaken. Chris Christopherson, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's one I need to see. Drama, different vehicle for Scorsese. Taxi Driver in '76.
Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
Man, yeah. I just read about too, and I watched it again recently too, but between Mean Streets and Taxi Driver, De Niro did Godfather Part 2.
Okay.
And he won an Academy Award for it.
Right.
Well, the studio had already agreed to do Taxi Driver with Scorsese, and he agreed to a small salary because it was a low budget film. Well, the studio was worried that he won an Academy Award. He's going to come and ask for more money.
Yeah.
But De Niro said, no, I'm going to do it for the salary I signed up for because I want to do the film.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I know there's a lot of debate, and I was reading on that too, about the ending. And if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry, it's 30 years old?
Yeah, yeah.
40. They think that he died at the end, and the cab ride at the end with the girl.
Yeah.
But I don't really get that, in my opinion. But that's just me. But, you know, it's just a normal guy. And again, I love the nostalgia of New York in the 70s, again, like he did in Mean Streets. He takes a cab job, and there's things that are bothering me. He's any a war veteran?
He was, yeah. I think
So
he was,
there's things that he's dealing with mentally, and he feels like he needs this mission to protect a girl. Harvey Keitel's in it again.
Jodie Foster
Yes,
plays
a
the
very
girl.
young Jodie Foster.
Sybil Shepherd
Yes.
is the one he's sort of infatuated with.
Who's the? I love her boyfriend too. I forget
yes.
Albert Brooks or whatever.
Yeah, probably.
He's
yes.
great.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
him. Yeah. And then what's his name? The other cab driver.
Oh, Peter Boyle.
Peter
shows up.
Boyle,
the
man.
Wizard.
Yeah, the Wizard, and then
Yeah,
he was.
yeah.
Everybody Loves Raymond, the
Yeah.
dad. Yeah, he was great. But yeah, another great film.
Yeah, Taxi Driver. I own it. It's a great film. When people talk about Scorsese, they say, "Okay, Mean Streets." Well, right after Mean Streets,
It's Taxi Driver.
yeah, that's what really catapulted him up there was Taxi Driver.
Definitely.
So that was 76 and 77. He did New York. I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen that.
In 78, he did The Last Waltz.
I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen it. And then we move on to, in 1980, he does Raging Bull about Jake LaMotta.
And this is what? He did more, but this is the third one with De Niro.
With De Niro.
And you know, some of the parts are tough to watch in this film.
Yeah.
I mean, it deals with, some touchy subjects. And
Yeah.
not a big fan of some of those scenes. But on
domestic violence.
yes,
And things like, yeah.
on the whole, though, it's about a boxer, and it's a real gritty Rocky. Like, you strip away all the, what makes Rocky great. Like, very film that's got these great storylines, and everything's happy, everything's good, even though it's a guy's
integrity,
down
this
on
guy,
his luck. No, this is a very dark. But again, I respect the filmmaking. I respect the acting. It's in black and white.
Yes.
But it's good. I don't want to say it's great because, again, it deals with stuff that it's kind of touchy.
Yeah.
But it is good.
And it marks the third time collaboration with De Niro, first time with Joe Pesci.
Yes.
It really is. You talk about Scorsese, but you got to talk about De Niro when you talk about Scorsese.
Oh yeah.
You talk about De Niro. We've done a video on De Niro, but Raging Bull. You watch some of the scenes in there, and this is a guy who, as an actor of his craft, a master of his craft, he puts
everything.
He digs down
and
deep.
It's more relatable because it's a guy who makes mistakes.
Yes.
We could all make those mistakes.
Yeah.
There are alleys that you stay away from, but sometimes you can't avoid some of that stuff. But yeah.
Great film.
Yeah.
Outstanding. So that was 80. 82, he does a strange film. It's The King of Comedy.
I want to see this. I've never seen it.
It's a very odd movie. It's a very dark comedy. It's like Alice doesn't live here anymore. I think he did in 74, which was a drama. He wanted to prove he could do it. So King of Comedy, he does something that's a bit of a dark comedy. He hasn't done that yet. You have De Niro as Willie. Was it? I'm trying to remember the guy's name now. But essentially, he's an aspiring comic. He's a stand-up comic. Well, he sucks for the most part, and he shoots mock late-night interviews. In his mom's basement, and what he's trying to do is he's infatuated with this big admirer of oh gosh, what's his name?
Johnny Carson?
No, not Johnny. His name escapes me right now. I can't believe Jerry Lewis.
Okay.
Jerry Lewis, who plays, in the film, he's supposed to be like a Johnny Carson type, and De Niro just loves the guy. Well, during the course of the movie, he gets into Lewis's office. He tries to get on there and this and that. Come to find out, Lewis is a real piece of work in real life. And then, goes on, he kidnaps Jerry Lewis.
Okay.
It's a very odd film.
Got it.
Do I recommend it? Absolutely. You got to watch it. Scorsese.
Okay.
Then in 85, so it's 3 years, 85, he does After Hours.
After Hours, man. It's another kind of a dark comedy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on. I enjoy the heck out of it. It's basically, I forget the main actor's name.
Griffin Dunn.
Great job.
Yeah.
He's like a computer processor, and of course this is back in the 80s, so I'm sure it was a very boring, meaningless job. But he meets a girl at a diner, gets her phone number, goes home and calls her. She says, why don't you come over? She's like, hey, I'll go over there. Well, he goes over there and he's only got $20, and for some reason he puts it in the door. Well, it flies out the window.
Yeah.
And that just starts a whole slew of things, and it doesn't go well with the girl. She lives way on the other side of New York, so he's trying to get home. He can't get home, and you have other actors that show up like John Hurt.
Yes.
And to me, I enjoyed it. I had you watch it. I know you didn't really care for it.
And that's fine. I mean, everybody's got different tastes.
Yeah, I love it. Like, and I'll just really briefly, one of the scenes, he goes into this diner and he just wants to use the bathroom, and the owner's like, you can't just come and use the bathroom, it's for customer. I'm going to order something. So he's going to try to just leave, and he's like, oh, I got a booth there for you. So he sits down and he's like, oh, I'm going to go put a meter in, cheeseburger with a coffee. Well, he ends up going back to that diner later, and the guy brings him his cheeseburger and his coffee, and he's like, oh, Jesus. But yeah, that's kind of the absurdity that goes on in that film.
Yeah.
I recommend that if you like these kind of quirky, weird comedies.
Well, that was the thing. And as a director or whatever you do in Hollywood, entertainment, you want to prove you can do something different.
Oh, yeah. I thought he did great.
You want to experiment a little bit. So he does those two. And then, in 85, 87, he did an episode of Amazing Stories. I'm not too familiar with that. So in '86, he sort of returns to his dramatic roots, not mafia related or anything like that, but he returns to his dramatic roots. Does Color of Money?
That's sort of kind of a quasi sequel
Yes.
to
The Hustler.
The Hustler.
Yeah.
I saw like the first 10 minutes of it, and I really want to watch it. I like Tom Cruise. I'm not a huge fan of Tom Cruise, but I do like him. Love Paul Newman. But I was like, I'm watching this. Maybe I should watch The Hustler first before I watch this. So that's when I kind of stopped it.
That's my recommendation. I mean, I'll be honest with you. As you know, I'm a little bit more critical about things, and yeah, we all have our own taste. I personally didn't care for Color of Money. I wasn't a big fan of it. I encourage you to watch it, or anyone to watch it who hadn't seen it, just because. I mean, it's film, you might like it. Yeah. I didn't personally myself. Love The Hustler. I didn't like the way Newman's character came off in this personally. But again, it's a Scorsese film, and it's got Newman and Cruise.
Gotcha.
So that was in '86. In '87, he did a music documentary on Michael Jackson.
I thought he did the video.
Okay, he did the video. That's what it was. You're right. He did the video.
Yeah, I remember that. That was cool.
Yeah. Okay. So that was '87. Yeah. Well, I saw it. It was good.
Yeah. Was it?
It was. In 1988, he did a film, Last Temptation of Christ.
I haven't watched it. I think I've heard you talk about this before, and I don't think I'd watch it.
No, same here. I saw a piece of it many years ago when I was in my youth, and I refused to watch it.
Okay. We can leave it at that.
So in '89, we jumped to '89. He does New York Stories. It's like an anthology of different stories, revolving around different people, different situations in New York.
Gotcha.
Might be worth to check out because, again, it's Scorsese, different actors and actresses. And here we go, 1990.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's the start of his, I think even Scorsese said it was the start of his trilogy of mafia films. 1990, Goodfellas.
Well, I was like, you're going with Goodfellas. I mean, what can you... It would be easier to say what's bad about the film, which is very, very little. Yeah. I mean, just the acting, the story, and it's based on a true story.
Yes. Henry Hill.
I don't want to spend too much time on this because we could spend 20 minutes on this film. But yeah, I can't say anything bad about the film. I love it. One of my personal favorites.
I read most of the book, the source material. Mitch Pileggi wrote Wise Guys, true story about Henry Hill.
Yeah.
I think in the movie De Niro is Jimmy, I don't remember, Jimmy Conway.
Yeah.
In Riyadh was Jimmy Burke. But anyway, the point is mafioso types, one of the big crime families in New York, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, into the 80s. All we can say about this is when you talk about mafia films, you have The Godfather and Goodfellas.
This is the gold standard.
That's it. Yeah. That's it. That's the cornerstone, man.
Yeah.
We could do a whole video on that. So in '91, he does Cape Fear, a remake of
De Niro again, and Nick Nolte. I haven't seen this all the way through, but I know what it's about, and I've seen a good chunk of it. It's not something I sought after to see. I think it's a little darker than the original one.
Sort of, yeah.
It's De Niro, and like I said, I'm a big Nolte fan as well. You don't walk away from this thing feeling that good.
No.
You feel a little dirty.
Yeah.
But again, I respect the acting, I respect the storytelling and the directing. So I think we just,
I'm on the same page with you, man. I don't feel you feel sort of filthy after watching this little sordid affair, the whole thing.
I think we've seen a lot worse, but we're in complete agreement.
Yeah. So that was Cape Fear in '91. In '93, he did a period piece called The Age of Innocence, which I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen it either.
In '95, he does a second film in his trilogy of crime films, Casino.
This is it's a close second, and it doesn't give it justice because Goodfellas is so good, and it's a solid one, and everybody knows that. I love Casino just as much, but I know it's number 2. Because I love the story. I love it's centered in Vegas. I like going to Vegas. And again, De Niro, and it's different because in Goodfellas, De Niro is a real threat. You don't want to cross him.
Right.
And you see him in Casino and you believe it too. Yes, he's a polarizing figure, but he's kind of a pushover. He's walking around in a pink robe with his cigarette.
Yeah.
And Pacino even says it. Or, I mean, not Pacino. Joe Pesci even says it.
Right.
You know, you're walking around with a pink robe and you're... I mean, but yeah, I again, there are things that I could... It would be easier to say what I dislike about the film, which is very little, because I love it too.
Yeah, you had the whole cast of, it's like his entourage, his ensemble cast of follows.
Oh,
you had Joe Pesci. Then you got Sharon Stone in there. You had Alan King. You had, just Don Rickles.
Don Rickles, man.
Yeah,
he is great. Even though he doesn't have a lot of lines, he's very memorable. I love Don Rickles.
James Woods has got a small part.
Yes.
On down the road, and again, we could do videos.
Oh God, yes.
On these films,
we could be 20 minutes here.
So yeah, Oscars galore. Nominated and all that. But so that was 95. In 95 again, he does Michael Jackson Video Greatest Hits.
See, that I don't know much about, because Michael Jackson's kind of off my radar.
It was starting, so that was 95. In 97 he does, this is one I haven't seen, Kundun.
I've heard of it, haven't seen it.
Yeah, same here. In 99 he does Bringing Out the Dead.
Oh man,
It's an odd film.
It's odd. You feel a little dirty when you walk away from this film. It's got some weird humor in it.
Yes.
Like, and Nicolas Cage, who's a nut in himself, but I do love him. Don't get me wrong. I respect him as an actor. But the beginning where he shows up in Scorsese, because it's about their paramedics, and he's the overnight shift, and he shows up and Scorsese's like, "Oh, you're late again." He said, "Yeah, you said you're going to be firing me when I was late again." "Well, I'm not going to fire you." And Nicolas Cage gets upset. "You swore you were going to fire me." And there's some weird stuff going on there. I would definitely say watch it though. It's odd, but on a certain level I did like it. But again, you don't walk away feling that great.
No, but the performances.
John Goodman,
Ving Rhames, Patricia Arquette,
yes.
Mark Anthony, Tom Sizemore,
the one and only.
He was good back then, though. He was good.
Oh yeah. I did like it, but again, it's definitely odd.
The point is who would have thought Scorsese is 20, 25 years into his career, who would have thought he'd be doing a film about EMTs?
You want to go down a weird rabbit hole, that's a movie. Sit down and watch that movie.
Isn't that one part where he's talking to Patricia Arquette, or he's on his own and he sees the ghosts of people that
like that
coming out of the... Yeah,
it's definitely odd.
So, concert for New York City in 2001 because of 9/11, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a documentary.
On that. Gangs of New York in 2000.
Gangs of New York, and we picked this as one of Leo's. We did a top 10 Leo.
Yeah.
Again, you it's a Scorsese film.
Yeah.
And this starts a slew of films that he does with DiCaprio.
That's true. Yeah.
And then, of course, Daniel Day-Lewis, who is a phenomenal actor.
Yeah.
And, it's based, in the 1700s or whatever, and it's the Irish.
Yeah. The five boroughs.
Yeah. That iconic, to me, it's an iconic scene where Daniel Day-Lewis, it shows kind of like the five boroughs, and then it shows his hand in like a fist that can close them up. And he's just a butcher.
Right.
He's just a butcher.
Yeah.
But he takes out... I don't want to get into it that much. If you want to watch it. But yeah, great film.
And that's the thing about Scorsese. When he does any kind of historical, which he's done a lot, obviously, period pieces, the mafia films, anything historical, he does his homework. He does his research.
You got a cameo Liam Neeson, too.
That's right. Liam Neeson, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that is good. And I actually was trying to seek that out to watch it again, because I haven't seen it in a long time.
Well, I mean, the fact that he pulled Daniel Day-Lewis out of semi-retirement.
Oh, yeah. Well, Daniel Day-Lewis is like Viggo Mortensen. They always got one foot in the door.
Yeah, it's just, he's a different character, too. He's a very fascinating guy.
Oh, I love it, yeah.
So that was 2002. He does The Blues in 2003, which, again, I think is director of a documentary on the blues, the history of blues. In 2003, he also does another Michael Jackson documentary, Michael Jackson Number Ones, which is the greatest hits.
Yeah.
Does another documentary in 2004.
He likes documentaries.
He does, yeah. Statue of
Big
Liberty.
Fan of him too.
Returns to form in 2004 with a feature film in The Aviator. about Howard Hughes.
And again, I think this was in our top 10 Leo too, because it's great. Again, it's about Howard Hughes, very interesting life he led. Had some problems that he had to deal with that they just didn't diagnose back in the 30s and the 40s. Right. He's a bit what probably would be considered a billionaire in today's money.
Oh yeah,
by far. He bought half of Vegas at one point.
Yeah.
But yeah, just a very and Leo is a guy who's going to go all in, and I think that's why him and Scorsese get along so well. Scorsese knows what he wants, and Leo can give it to him.
Yeah, and I think that's why Scorsese gravitates towards someone like Leo. You notice he fostered that relationship with De Niro.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then,
Leo kind of took,
with
great. Another great film.
So he does American Masters. I'm not sure. That might have something to do with cinema. I don't know. Documentary again. In 2006, he does what he's admitted is the third final film in his Mafia trilogy, The Departed, which is more contemporary.
Departed is great.
Yeah.
I mean, just the cast alone. And this is another one that I'm just going to say because I think it was in our top 10 Leo. Yeah. A lot of similarities here.
Yeah.
But again, it'd be easier to say what I didn't like about the film.
You collaborate for the first time. You have the third or fourth time now with DiCaprio. But the first time you have Jack Nicholson being directed by Martin Scorsese. Is that possible?
And he allowed Jack Nicholson. I was reading. Jack Nicholson had some of these crazy ideas that were in the film.
Right.
And were Jack Nicholson's ideas. Scorsese said, "Okay, do it," because he wanted him to have that kind of crazy mindset.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, we could be here all day talking about that film.
Yeah.
Another just great film.
So that was 2006. In 2008, he did one of the definitive documentaries, apparently, on Rolling Stone's "Shine a Light."
I remember. I haven't seen it, but I remember it coming out. I'd like to watch
it. It might be worth visiting. It's Rolling Stones, for goodness sakes.
And it's Scorsese.
Yeah. It's always going to follow. That's it. It's, Shutter Island in 2010.
Like I said, we're getting into similarities here. This is like half of our top 10 Leonardo DiCaprio list. Shutter Island it was one of my favorites. Leo film. It's one of my favorite, Scorsese. And he takes that kind of that suspense, a little horror. He goes into that direction.
Yeah, a departure again from most of his films, except maybe Bringing Out the Dead, possibly. You might touch on some stuff there, but
we saw that at the theater. I loved it.
Yeah. And a lot, again, supporting cast that just, off the charts. So 2010, he directed an episode of Boardwalk Empire.
And I want to watch that series. I really do.
Yeah. I've heard nothing but good things.
Yeah.
Steve Buscemi.
Oh, he's great.
Too bad he wasn't in a Scorsese film.
I know. He could have been great.
Documentary on public speaking. Who would have known?
Who knew?
Documentary on George Harrison.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, I actually started that, but I didn't get that far into it. Because I love the Beatles, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, well, it looks like he's as good as doing documentaries as he is at feature films. Now, again, another departure. Can Scorsese do a kid film?
Oh, yeah.
Hugo.
But didn't a lot of people cry? Like Peter Jackson produced it or something?
Yeah.
I think Spielberg was like the executive producer. There was a lot of big names on this film. And I'm actually interested in seeing it. I just haven't gotten the opportunity to watch it.
Yeah. 2013, he does another film, DiCaprio, The Wolf of Wall Street.
I've seen it. I do enjoy the story. It's based on a true story. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on there, though. It's and again, you feel dirty walking away from that.
See, that's one I haven't seen.
There's a great scene because obviously it does with drugs and all that. They take these like Quaaludes or something, and they don't think they're taking effect. So Leo takes like 10 of them or something. Well, then he has to go use an outside phone because obviously what they're doing is illegal.
Right.
And while he's on the phone, he's like, and those mother effers hit, and he's out. Like, he can't move.
Right.
He can't even walk. So he has to crawl to his car, and then he's driving like this, and he's got to drive like up a mountain or something to his house. And he's like, I can't believe I made it home. Well, the next day he gets arrested, and they're taking him out. They walk past his car. The car is just demolished. You don't know how he even drove it home. So there's great humor in it, and it's again a good story, but you got to get through a lot in it. There's a lot of nudity, a lot of sexuality. And if you're okay with that, yeah, check it out.
See, yeah, I don't know why Scorsese chose to do that this late in his
I think it
career.
was more Leo, from
Really?
what I understand. Leo, I think, approached Scorsese, and Scorsese's like, okay, and they got the funny because obviously they were going to do it again, but yeah, they took advantage of it because it was them too, and not many people are going to ask questions.
Right. Yeah.
I love this scene. There's a scene with him and Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. But yeah, if again, check it out. If you can deal with some of that, it's a good movie.
Okay. That was 2013. King of Comedy deleted and extended scenes 2014. Didn't know about that.
Who knew?
50-year argument.
I don't know what. I think it's a documentary too.
Yeah. The audition.
That is it was a promotion for these big casinos.
You told me about
one's in
that.
China, one was in Australia or something. And then I read too that they didn't even go there. They shot it on some big like green screen or something.
Gosh.
I loved it because you got, Scorsese, brings De Niro and DiCaprio, and he's like, I'm doing this film, but I don't know which way I'm going to go with. So De Niro and DiCaprio are trying to say, well, we've done all these movies, and De Niro's like, well, so have I, and they're arguing who should be in it, and it irritates Scorsese to where he's like, guys, I'll call you, and he ends up calling Brad Pitt and sits down and has a meeting, and they're sitting there like, is he better than us? It's a short, 10, 15 minutes, but yeah, it's funny.
I need to check that out.
Yeah, you just look it up on YouTube.
Yeah. It's 2015. Again, another documentary on vinyl, the history of vinyl records.
I've heard about that. I've actually wanted to check that out.
Okay.
Because vinyl interests me. Not that I collect them, they're interesting.
It's 2016 feature film Silence.
I want to see this.
That's another one I had. Yeah, we missed it.
Yeah.
I wanted to see it.
Yeah.
That was Neeson?
I think it was.
And not Adrian Brody. What's his name?
Garfield, wasn't it? I thought it was Garfield, but I could be wrong.
No, it was the guy from The Force Awakens.
I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about.
Well, I'll have to get to that later.
Oh, anyway, it doesn't matter. Rolling Thunder Review. Oh, Bob Dylan.
Yep.
Okay, documentary on Bob. He's covering all the big bases.
Hey, man, that's another one I wouldn't mind checking out.
Okay, in 2019, it's a departure for him. And a lot could be said about the business end of this. The Irishman.
This was good. I really want to visit it again to appreciate it a little more. But, I mean, you got, obviously, these iconic actors.
Yeah.
De Niro, Pacino, finally. Yeah, they get Joe Pesci out of retirement.
Yeah, Harvey Keitel's in it too.
Keitel. It just sucks they didn't get like Ray Loretta.
Yeah.
And but it was great.
Yeah.
Long.
Because
very long.
It never ended up. It was the groundbreaking. Actually, was the first time Netflix that this was done. And then the aging
technology,
which some people could argue about that, but I thought it was a great film, and it's probably the last time. Let's be honest, it's probably the last time you're going to see those guys on the screen again.
Yeah, we should have got Walken too.
Yeah,
but
that was
2019,
a couple years ago, and then another documentary or something. Pretend It's a City. I don't know.
I think I know The Pretenders. I think maybe.
Oh wow! Okay,
click on it real quick.
Let's see, 7 episodes. It says. Wandered New York City streets, fascinating mind of writer, humorist, and raconteur Fran Lebowitz as she sits down with Martin Scorsese. But another documentary nonetheless.
Gotcha. Okay.
Upcoming, he's got that one again with DiCaprio and De Niro.
Yeah.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
The killer in the. He's supposed to be over H.H. Holmes or something.
Yeah.
The first serial killer in Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but.
What a body of work.
Yeah.
And I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Scorsese say a few years ago, he said he could probably count on one hand
how many films he had left?
Yeah.
But there you go. This was definitely a long-winded one. But yeah, it's Martin Scorsese. What do you expect? We'll see you in another one.